Welcome again to Stories of Our Texas Revolution, presented and produced by the Tejano Volunteer Company. I'm your host and Texas History Ambassador, Ana Gonzalez. If you love hearing stories of our Texas Revolution, take a moment and hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, hit the bell notification to make sure you don't miss out on any of our future TVC videos. Today's story is titled, Count the Cost. During dinner, one evening at the home of Gregorio Esparza, his guest, John Smith, also known as Colorado, mentioned that he had just learned from Tejano Blas Herrera that the Mexican army was spotted crossing the Rio Grande. Colorado suggested that Gregorio should gather his family and move to Nacogdoches. He was very aware of the consequences for Gregorio and Ana since they were well known for being outspoken supporters of Texas independence. Colorado, the godfather to Gregorio's son, Francisco, told Gregorio he could have a wagon team and all the necessary provisions for a trip if he wanted to take his family away. Gregorio decided to accept the offer and move the family. Therefore, it was decided, and everything was a go. Then, a couple of weeks later, on February 23rd, Colorado came running to Gregorio's home. But, unfortunately, Gregorio was out, so Colorado instead addressed Ana, Gregorio's wife. He said that General Santa Anna and the Mexican army are quickly advancing to San Antonio. And to warn my brother Gregorio. Gregorio, like everyone else, was caught by surprise. And unfortunately, the time for Gregorio's plan to move his family to Nacogdoches ran out that day. During this time in our history, many individuals who stood for freedom and independence lost everything. I have heard that freedom is not free. Count the cost.
At sunset on February 23, 1836, Anna closed the door of her home for the last time as her husband was giving last-minute instructions to the children. The children's ages ranged from 2 to 8 years of age. The time had come for Anna to follow her husband and move her family to the Alamo for safety. At that very moment, the Mexican army was entering her hometown, and things were going to get very tumultuous soon. The people of San Antonio were now in danger of an invading army's retribution. Moreover, the route to the Alamo would take the family dangerously close to, maybe in contact with, advanced cavalry elements of the Mexican Vanguard Brigade. Anna had spent that afternoon preparing her family for the move. First, she made food provisions for a couple of days. Then, they packed them for transport, clothing changes for everyone, and other survival essentials. That afternoon, Anna also talked to Enrique, her oldest son, to prepare him mentally for the move. Even though deep down inside, Anna was scared, her family, especially her children, never knew it. Then, the time came to move. It was sunset when the Esparzas left their home. Gregorio picked up Manuel, his 5-year-old, in his arms and told him to hold tight and not let go while Anna tightly secured Francisco, her 2-year-old, to her body. Maria and Enrique, their oldest children, held hands tightly, as instructed, and the family started walking toward San Fernando Church. At first, the family walked quickly but did not run. But, as the Esparzas were advancing on the Plaza de San Fernando, they could see the town in chaos. They saw people running, wagons moving quickly, and families running for cover and safety. At that moment, an advanced Mexican cavalry unit entered the villa of San Fernando. It terrorized the streets of there, preparing the town for General Santa Anna's arrival. As soon as the family reached the plaza, Gregorio assessed the situation and immediately realized that his family would have to make a run for it. At that moment, the Esparzas started running down Calle de la Alameda in the direction of the bridge. History remembers that the Esparzas ran from the plaza to the bridge, without stopping. Gregorio was running fast, holding tightly to Manuel. Anna was running with Francisco, holding him tightly to her body. The 2 oldest Esparza children followed close behind, running fast, trying to keep up, holding hands as they ran. As the family ran down Calle de la Alameda, they could hear gunshots, soldiers yelling, and horses running past. But, as instructed by Gregorio, the family kept formation, stayed focused, and kept running. No one complained. Every so often, Ana looked back to see if Enrique and Maria were still following, which they were. The distance the family ran that evening was about a quarter of a mile without stopping for a rest. And history remembers the young mother who ran fast that evening carrying an infant, Ana Esparza, known by everyone as Anita. Anita had recently turned 23. Maria Josefa Ana Estancia Salazar, daughter of Gregorio and Maria Antonia González Salazar, was baptized at San Fernando Church on January 23, 1813. In 1827, Ana married a young vaquero from San Antonio that she fell in love with, Gregorio Esparza. They had 4 children, including Enrique Esparza. After their wedding, Gregorio purchased a property on La Calle de Acequia, presently Main Avenue in San Antonio, where the family lived and saw their children grow up. But today, not too far from her house, Ana's running down Calle de la Alameda, a street she knew very well, a road she had walked down many times with her family. Today she's running down that street, for her life. The family rested when they finally reached the bridge over the San Antonio River. Everyone was completely exhausted. As they paused to catch their breath, the family could hear Santa Ana's drums beating at Plaza de las Islas, downtown. From there, everyone walked briskly across the bridge and then onto the footpath that led to the Alamo fortress. While crossing the bridge, they ran into a young Tejano with the TVC, Joseph Martin Delgado, who was hurrying to his home. Joseph lived close by, at La Villita. When the family reached the front of the Alamo, Gregorio called out to let his family in. A voice inside the Alamo responded,
"Is that you, Gregorio? We have barred and fortified the front door. Go around the side with your family, by the chapel. There's a small window near the back. I'll meet you there."
Gregorio recognized that voice. It was his friend, Sam Maverick. That day, at twilight, the Esparza family entered the Alamo through a small window on the chapel's side. From there, William Travis, a good friend of Gregorio, escorted the Esparza family to the room where Ana and her family would spend the next 13 terrifying days together. At one point during the siege, several days before the final attack, General Santa Anna offered a truce during the blockade to allow non-combatants to leave. Gregorio took his wife aside and told her that she'd better take the children and go while she could do so safely. But Ana answered with her now famous response,
No, si tú te vas a quedar, yo también. Si matan a uno, pueden matarnos a todos.
And history remembers Ana remained with her husband until the very end. Ana and her family stayed inside the Alamo with her revolutionary husband Gregorio for 13 days, and experienced constant bombardment and terror. Finally, after almost 2 weeks, the bombardment stopped on Saturday night, the last evening of the siege. For the first time in a long time, there was peace at the Alamo. Gregorio, Ana, and the children all slept safely together in headquarters. Then, just before dawn, when everyone was fast asleep, the Mexican army attacked. Suddenly the silence was interrupted by a great shooting and firing at the northwest corner. At that moment, the defenders were alerted, and Ana woke up, looked through the door opening, turned to wake Gregorio, and said,
Gregorio, despierta, los soldados han saltado el muro. La pelea ha comenzado.
In the darkness, she hadn't noticed that Gregorio was already up and packing his melee weapons. Then, with everything in place, before Gregorio entered the fight, he stopped for 1 second to look at his beautiful young wife. Ana stood firm, looking at her husband, surrounded by their children, but unable to hold back her tears. While the whole family was crying, Gregorio ran to Ana and kissed her. Then, he took one last look at his family, ran out the door into the fight, and was never seen alive by his family again.
Fire!
Ana then took the children and hid in the corner of the room with other families in complete darkness. For about an hour, they hid while a fierce battle raged around them. Mexican soldiers entered the room where the Esparzas were during the fight and shot into their dark room many times. Ana postured her body in the corner to completely cover and shield her children from harm. Many years later, Ana's oldest son, Enrique, would recount when the soldiers fired into the room and miraculously didn't hit any Esparzas. According to some accounts, Gregorio ran straight to the thick of the fight. Then as the Mexicans breached the north wall, he fell back to his post, manning the cannon at the top of the ramp in the chapel next to James Bonham and Captain Dickinson. With one last cannon blast, fire! The remaining defenders obliterated the Mexican soldiers at the door. For a moment, all was still. Then Gregorio looked at James Bonham and said something. Probably said, "Stand your ground." Because right after that, Gregorio assumed his fighting stance, crouching intently with a hatchet in his right hand and a large knife in his left. He was waiting and anticipating the second wave of Mexican troops, now charging with bayonets pointing and yelling as they made their way up the ramp. At about 6 a.m. Sunday, during what history recalls as some of the deadliest hand-to-hand fightings of that battle, Gregorio made his heroic stand next to James. Together, the Tejano and the Texian fell at the Alamo. The two defenders stood their ground as the eagle fell. Ironically, after the fall of the Alamo, Ana and her children were escorted out of the Alamo by a soldier with the Mexican army, her brother-in-law, Gregorio's younger brother, Francisco. From there, the Alamo survivors were taken to the home of Don Ramon Musquiz. Ana knew the Musquiz family and their house well and immediately went to work looking for food for her children and the other survivors. The women were meant to be under guard. No one knew what Santa Ana would do with them, but they did know all the surviving men had been executed, except Joe, Travis's slave. Still, Ana was determined to do what she could for her children and the other survivors. Don Ramon Musquiz warned Ana that she must stay put and that it was dangerous for her to move about. Enrique remembers his mother saying,
No me importa lo peligroso que sea. No estoy sentada porque mis hijos y todos aquí necesitan comida. Tengo la intención de cuidar de ellos si Santa Ana no lo hace.
The next day, the survivors of the siege, women, children, and enslaved people, were brought before Santa Ana. Then, one by one, the survivors were interviewed by General Santa Ana. Finally, Ana stood before the Mexican general and his staff. She noticed a large stack of silver coins and a pile of blankets on the table before him. Ana was allowed to explain the circumstances that brought her to reside inside the Alamo. Francisco, Gregorio's brother, was present for the interview and asked to retrieve Gregorio's body from the ramp at the Alamo and provide his brother with a proper burial. Santa Ana agreed, and unlike any other Alamo defender, Gregorio received a Christian burial in the nearby local cemetery, Campo Santo. At the end of the interview, Santa Ana signaled to Colonel Juan Almonte to hand Ana 2 silver pesos and a blanket. Each woman survivor was to make a declaration, and then be given 2 silver pesos and a blanket. History remembers that just 1 week after the fall of the Alamo, Ana and Francisco, her brother-in-law, stood side by side at Gregorio's grave, weeping. Within months, after Texas gained its independence at San Jacinto, the geopolitical fallout for Tejanos would be evident. Almost immediately, the new Republic of Texas set about divesting Tejanos of their lands and rights. As a result, Ana had to forfeit the house and land on Calle de la Acequia, her family home. Presented with nowhere to go, Ana took her family to Pleasanton, where the Esparza family had land, about 40 miles south of San Antonio de Béxar. Only one problem: Ana had a cart but no horse. So she loaded her children and a few personal items onto the wagon. Then she pulled them the 40 miles herself, eating what she could forage along the way and experiencing the roughest road conditions the entire way. Family stories of this time are full of inconceivable hardships. I cannot imagine what Ana must have experienced during those dreadful days. Several years later, Ana applied more than once for reparations for the loss of her husband, Gregorio, and his role in the Battle of the Alamo. But, sadly, she would not see reparations or any recognition for the family's sacrifice during her lifetime. As a result, the petitions that bear her signature still survive today. By all accounts, Ana Esparza was a strong-willed, fierce, and determined woman. Ana Esparza was as strong as she was beautiful. Like many Texas ladies of her generation, Anita was the quintessential, formidable frontier wife. Still, the hardship endured during the 13-day siege, the loss of her property, and the loss of Gregorio had lifelong consequences on Ana. Finally, in 1849, after many hard years, Ana Esparza passed away at the age of 37. Texas ladies who stood by their husbands, like Ana, during that time in our history will be remembered and honored as true patriots of our Texas Revolution. This video presentation is dedicated to Ana Esparza's descendants, like Charisma Villarreal, living in Texas and worldwide. They continue to carry the torch of freedom handed down to them by Ana Esparza, a fierce and brave patriot woman of our Texas Revolution. And finally, thank you, Ana Esparza, for your brave deeds, for being strong for your family, and for standing with your man during our darkest hours. Texas heroines. Never forget.